Tonight, tense negotiations at the Ontario rail blockade. And the Prime Minister cancels a trip to deal with the standoff.
It would have been significant for the federal government to react more quickly.
It is better to get out of here ASAP.
Canadians will finally get to leave that quarantine cruise ship in Japan, but their ordeal isn't over yet.
I'm running out of stamina.
How an Alberta man ended up locked in a cell for 17 hours in the midst of a medical crisis.
I actually thought I was going to die at one point. The thing that scared me is that I was going to die alone.
It is over! Brilliant!
She just became international soccer's top scorer. But Canadian team captain Christine Sinclair wants to talk about something else: beating the USA for Olympic gold.
They're the type of team that takes advantage of any mistake you make, but they're beatable. They're not untouchable.
This is The National. Rail traffic is still paralyzed in half the country, and ports are clogged on 2 coasts after 11 days of rail blockades. And now the Prime Minister is cutting short his diplomatic tour to deal with it. Late today, his office said he's staying in Canada to focus on infrastructure disruptions. That's a reference to the protest in support of Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs who want to stop a gas pipeline in BC. And there's no telling when those protests might end.
It's important to let the government know that if we stand together, we actually hold a lot of land in Canada. And if we stand together as one, we can do a lot.
In PEI today, about a dozen demonstrators slowed traffic to the Confederation Bridge. Turnout was too small to block transport trucks as planned, but it's just a taste of the disruption and anger felt from one end of the country to the other. In Niagara Falls, Ontario, dozens gathered to block the Rainbow Bridge to New York State. It's not used for commercial traffic, but thousands of cars typically travel on the bridge on a Sunday. Yesterday, this day-long protest halted rail traffic north of Toronto, and about 100 people in Vancouver blocked a CN rail line. Still, it's the Mohawk camp near Belleville, Ontario, that's having the biggest impact on rail traffic. Olivia Stefanovich is there.
The Mohawks are making their message clear. Despite a visit yesterday from Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller, they're not going anywhere. That has forced Justin Trudeau to stay in Canada.
Our Prime Minister needs to come here and out west and get the real stories.
CBC News has obtained audio recordings of part of the meeting at this community centre. They were taken by an Indigenous activist inside, and they show Miller's attempt to get rail traffic moving, even temporarily, appear to be rebuffed.
Is that there'll be a temporary drawback to allow trains to go through.
Get the red coat shows first. Get the blue coat shows out of down here. Then we can maybe have some common discussion on the case.
The recordings also reveal one of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs joined the discussion over speakerphone. The chief asked the Mohawks to dig in.
The progress was modest. We talked openly, frankly, painfully at times.
After the meeting, Miller characterized the discussion as productive, but said there's a lot more work that needs to be done.
And my hopes is this is resolved in a peaceful process because the people in that room are dedicated to peace.
It is better to entertain dialogue and talks rather than having police forces intervene.
This regional chief took part in negotiations around the 1990 Oka standoff, when a call to action by local politicians led to the death of a Quebec police officer. Today, Miller told Radio-Canada the current negotiations are haunted by the shadow of Oka. The government is weighing the potential for violence against public anger and opposition jabs.
It would have been significant for the federal government to react more quickly.
Now the Prime Minister's office says he's pulling together an incident response team to deal with this growing crisis. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Tyne-Dahnega.
Some breaking news tonight. After mounting pressure, New Brunswick has backed off controversial reforms to health care. In a statement, the Premier cited a multitude of reactions in his decision not to proceed with reform plans. This comes after protests, promises from the opposition to bring down the minority Conservative government, and on Friday, the loss of the Deputy Premier, who quit to sit as an independent. The reaction triggered in part by the planned cut to overnight emergency care at 6 rural hospitals. Well, the response to the coronavirus has been as straightforward as it is severe. Quarantine cases, lock down zones of infection, seal them off from the world. But tonight we have 2 cruise ships where those efforts may have failed. Docked in Cambodia, the Westerdam. Many of its passengers allowed to leave under the belief they were all virus-free, but it turns out at least one passenger got off that ship while carrying the virus. More on that in a moment. Then there's the Diamond Princess in Japan. Hundreds of its passengers infected, the rest trapped. For Canadian passengers, escape may be coming, but Sasha Petrusik tells us why their ordeal of isolation is far from over.
Hundreds of Americans left the Diamond Princess cruise ship Sunday night, boarding buses on the Yokohama pier and later U.S. government flights to California. They are the first passengers allowed to go home, with Canadians set to follow, according to an announcement from Ottawa late Saturday. They are to be brought back on planned charter flights Wednesday. All are eager to escape what Vancouver's Jennifer Lee calls a luxury jail, a ship full quarantined where almost 1 in 10 have been gradually infected.
We have been quarantined for so long already, and the numbers just keep going up. So it is better to get out of here ASAP.
Lee and more than 200 other uninfected Canadians have been emailing and lobbying Ottawa to bring them out of the cabins and limited deck areas where they've been confined for almost 2 weeks.
Just getting answers in the past couple days, it's been stressful.
Frustrating too, Trudy Clement told me from the ship today.
We were elated today with the news, but it was a long time coming.
But it'll be a long time before the ordeal is over. Once they're flown to Trenton, Ontario, they face another 2 weeks of quarantine. Greg Yarex is exasperated.
Glad the government finally got off their butt and did something. 14 days more quarantine. I'm running out of stamina.
The Diamond Princess has the largest cluster of the disease outside China. But in China, the coronavirus continues to spread, infecting more than 70,000 and killing over 1,500. State media is claiming signs of progress, showing pictures of patients who have recovered, leaving hospital. Officials say new infections are dropping. The change shows prevention and control are starting to work, says the National Health Commission, though its numbers are hard to track because China's way of counting has changed several times.
So, Sasha, it's not clear from the numbers alone whether China is turning a corner. What is Beijing's focus at this point?
Well, Ian, Beijing is under a great deal of political pressure on this one. Over the weekend, there was a statement saying that President Xi Jinping knew about the dangers of this virus 2 weeks before any serious moves to contain it. Now, that was meant to reassure Chinese that he's on top of things, but instead, it's raised questions about why he didn't act sooner. Ian?
All right, Sasha, thank you.
My pleasure.
In many places outside China, the virus seems more contained, but the Westerdam shows us how fragile that is. One case seems to have slipped past health officials, despite procedures that trapped hundreds on board the cruise ship for days. But as Austin Grabish tells us, tonight Canadian officials have brought in new restrictions on returning Canadian passengers.
This is a walk of relief. For 2 weeks, Stephen Hansen and his wife were among the 271 Canadians stuck aboard the Westerdam.
Certainly not the vacation we had in mind. It was supposed to be a 30-day bucket list tour.
The cruise ship left Hong Kong on February 1st and had many stops planned along the way before ending in Japan. But the ship was turned away by 5 different countries over fears of the coronavirus.
We don't know what's going on. We've been floating around for about 2 weeks now.
Initially, Holland America said there was no one sick on its ship. The company said there was no known or suspected cases of the coronavirus on board. Cambodia agreed to let the passengers disembark on Friday after they were screened. But one of the passengers, an American woman who then flew on to Malaysia, has since tested positive for COVID-19. And that is alarming health experts because the passengers were trapped aboard but not confined to their rooms.
It's concerning to me that there was a passenger on this cruise line that tested positive for coronavirus. And the fact that this cruise line was not quarantined, that makes other passengers at risk.
Hansen and his wife weren't sure they'd get home without being stopped. They passed through at least 3 countries before arriving in Vancouver.
It felt a little bit like, that movie Argo, where you're trying to get the Iranian hostages out.
But everything was routine until they arrived home. Border agents at the Vancouver airport were waiting at their gate to escort them.
They asked us to wear masks as we walked through the airport, which we did, and that was about it. So, and we signed a form, I think, but it really wasn't a health form. It was really more just an immigration form.
Tonight, health officials say all the ship's Canadian passengers are now being instructed to go into self-quarantine for 14 days and will undergo further examination and screening. Austin Grabish, CBC News, Winnipeg.
An Ottawa woman was supposed to be enjoying her family vacation on a cruise today, sailing through the Caribbean, but instead she's stuck at home in Canada, all because she holds a Chinese passport.
I am a Chinese passport holder, but I'm a permanent resident in Canada. Can I get on board? They said, no, very unfortunate, you can't.
Ming Yang was shocked when she learned she was banned from getting on board a Norwegian cruise line. The company's new policy doesn't allow anyone with a Chinese, Hong Kong, or Macau passport to board their ships, regardless of where they live now. Royal Caribbean is doing the same. It's a change meant to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. But Yang hasn't been to China in at least 6 months.
The policy is very racist. Norwegian is trying to send out the messages. You are very welcome on board, and don't worry, there will be no Chinese people.
Sunwing, the airline organizing the booking, is working on getting a refund for the entire group. Concerns about the coronavirus are diminishing some of the enthusiasm around the upcoming Tokyo Olympics.
We've always screened people from a security perspective. I suspect that we'll start seeing more around a health screening as well.
The games are just 5 months away. Ahead, Chris Brown on the preparation that's underway, which now includes reassuring people the country is safe. An Alberta man is going public tonight about the 17 frightening hours he spent in a jail cell. The RCMP arrested him thinking he was drunk. In fact, he was having a stroke. And as Rosa Marcatelli explains, there's surveillance video showing what happened.
In graphic detail, the video shows how Alan Rule went from being alert to this, struggling to stand, repeatedly falling down, and eventually lying on the concrete floor, one side of his body paralyzed by a stroke, virtually ignored by RCMP, says a lawsuit.
I actually thought I was going to die at one point. And the thing that scared me is that I was going to die alone.
Rule is still suffering the repercussions of that stroke. He was arrested by Airdrie RCMP for public intoxication in 2015 after a bar employee called police saying he was drunk and acting strangely, despite being served only water at the bar.
I don't blame the RCMP for picking him up. He probably did look like he was intoxicated. Now, if they had just been watching him when he was in there, they would have noticed that something wasn't right, something wasn't adding up.
Instead of sobering up, the video shows Rule's condition getting worse. 12 hours pass before anyone enters his cell to physically check on him. That officer pokes his head in for a few seconds.
I couldn't walk straight. On my left side, I had to crawl to get any place.
17 hours after being locked up, another officer goes in, realizes Rule can't stand, and then calls paramedics. A neurologist's report says Rule may have suffered an initial stroke before his arrest that could have been confused for intoxication, and then a massive one while in custody, adding it's difficult to say if earlier medical attention would have helped. RCMP dispute all the allegations and deny any responsibility for what happened to Rule, saying there were no obvious signs he was in medical distress. But this expert in policing hired by Rule's lawyer says the evidence strongly suggests officers ignored their own operating procedures.
I think there's some major lapses here, beginning with how Mr. Rule was classified as a severely impaired person, kept with that assumption for the next 18 hours. in spite of evidence that there's a person undergoing a medical crisis.
The RCMP's own manuals require officers to look for signs of drowsiness that may be an indicator of serious illness or injury, including stroke. If in doubt, the manual reads, call for immediate medical assistance.
I just thought, well, this is it. Your life is over. And little did I know that it really is over to a certain extent. Okay, I'm still breathing, but what I know of my life before this is gone.
The former offshore drilling consultant who had no plans to retire before his stroke is now hoping the lawsuit will help him pay his bills, saying he and his wife of 36 years are struggling financially. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
And if you have a tip for Rosa and the team to investigate, please send an email to gopublic@cbc.ca. The U.S. president had quite the moment at the Daytona 500 NASCAR race today, taking to the track in the presidential limo. But the race he's actually focused on is in November, while his Democratic challengers were busy trying to run each other off the road. Paul Hunter shows us more.
What an entrance by the president.
There's no denying Donald Trump knows his audience. First, a flyby above the 100,000 people at the Daytona 500. Then, these words.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
But there was more. Trump's visit also included a drive-around inside the presidential limousine, with millions more watching on TV knowing NASCAR fans tend to vote Republican. And this was the day after Trump staged what's said to be the biggest fundraising dinner in U.S. history. $580,000 a couple, raising some $10 million for Trump's re-election bid. For Democrats, meanwhile, that other race, the one for the White House, is now focused on Nevada, where early voters turned out this weekend casting ballots for next weekend's state caucus, with former front-runner Joe Biden, current front-runner Bernie Sanders, and the rest all pushing for votes in their battle to take on Trump directly. As Sanders put it last night,
Donald Trump, you're going to be a one-term president. You're out of here.
Indeed, despite Trump's big weekend, he also hit a speed bump. From more than 1,000 former officials with the U.S. Department of Justice, a public letter calling for the resignation of Trump Attorney General Bill Barr, after Barr last week acted to ease a prison sentence for Trump ally Roger Stone. Trump had pressed for a lesser sentence. Barr took steps toward that, but denies it was on Trump's directive. The letter calls their behavior a grave threat to the fair administration of justice. Still, none of that seemed to matter today in Daytona. USA, they chanted. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Another story we're watching tonight is a so-called bomb cyclone roaring across Britain. Storm Dennis has battered the country with gale-force winds and heavy rains. Authorities have issued hundreds of flood warnings. Pictures showed cars being swept away after one river broke its banks. Dennis hit barely a week after Storm Kira caused similar disruptions.
Oh, no. Has he got it? He's going to go around. Is he going to go around? Oh, my God, look at it.
Wow. The weather forced dozens of flight cancellations, but not this one. An Airbus struggling to land at London's Heathrow Airport, fighting a heavy crosswind. The pilot couldn't quite stick to the runway, but still managed to get this plane down safely. Tonight, baseball fans are fondly remembering one of the greats. Tony Fernandes has died at the age of 57. He had 4 stints with the Toronto Blue Jays and set records that still stand today. But as Talia Ricci shows us, his personal achievements also set him apart.
As a little boy, I always wanted to be somebody. I want to be another Dominican star.
Tony Fernandes was a 5-time All-Star. He played 12 seasons with the Blue Jays, won 4 Gold Gloves, and helped the Jays win a World Series.
Tony Fernandes empties the bases. Tony Fernandes was one of the finest people I ever met in baseball.
Fernandes earned a long list of career highlights. He's the Blue Jays' all-time leader in games played, hits, and triples.
I was a guy that always, give him a hard time if he's going to let me catch a ball today.
But those who knew him say there was so much to love about him off the field, too. Fernandes leaves behind his wife and 5 children. He had been battling kidney disease and died from complications after a stroke.
What he did on the field was not for him, but for his family.
Fernandes spoke openly about growing up in poverty in the Dominican Republic. He said he first learned to catch using a milk carton as a glove and socks as a makeshift baseball. Humble beginnings that kept him grounded.
It really didn't have anything to do with dollars and cents or ego or anything like that. He was just sort of perfection driven.
A lot of baseball history was made by Tony Fernandes right here. He was originally signed by the Blue Jays in 1979 at age 17 and returned in time for the 1993 World Series win.
But he'd be falling down and throw it right to where it had to go.
He looked like he was moving in slow motion, right?
Fernandes won over fans and the baseball community with his kind spirit and love for the game.
I think that's why kids liked him, because he was so enthusiastic. He brought so much joy to the game.
El cielo. He's a star in the sky.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Hot on the heels of breaking the goal-scoring record for international soccer, Christine Sinclair has another goal in mind.
I'm not going to lie, I'd like a gold medal.
Next on The National, I talked to Canada's greatest soccer player of all time about how she's prepping for Tokyo and who she really wants to beat on the pitch. And a life in hockey after hockey. How Paul Bissonnette went from NHL tough guy to the host of a wildly popular podcast that's changing the game. And
so I thought, why not Okotoks?
The Alberta town selling itself as a royal destination. We're back right after this.
The advice that we've received externally from WHO is that there's no case for any contingency plans of cancelling the games or moving the games.
With just 5 months to go, the International Olympic Committee confirmed this week the Tokyo Games must go on. This despite the ongoing fears of a global coronavirus outbreak and the high number of athletes and visitors coming in from around the world. Still, there's no way to know the state of the outbreak come July, and that has some in Japan worried about the potential impact. Chris Brown is there.
Soon, Japanese League games will make way for the Olympic Games at the Saitama Stadium on the outskirts of Tokyo, and hopefully the coronavirus won't spoil the competition. I saw in the news that there was a possibility spectators would not come for the Olympics, she told us. Already, the more than 200 cases from the quarantine cruise ship in Yokohama have some countries, including South Korea, telling their citizens to avoid Japan. But food vendor Yoshio Goto told us foreign visitors really have nothing to be concerned about. Japanese people are very clean and careful about disinfecting, he says. I think the same thing will happen during the Olympics. At this point, the Olympic momentum does appear to be unstoppable, with new venues such as for tennis and BMX competitions opening up by the week. Still, Olympic organizers have had to scramble to make backup plans.
Even in a best-case scenario, the coronavirus could last several months. So health and government officials here are trying to figure out how athletes might be screened, how qualifying events might be affected, and how to reassure international visitors that it's still safe to visit Japan.
The Tokyo Games president says his officials have struck a task force to track virus-related issues. And this veteran Canadian Olympic watcher expects its work will be focused on handling crowds, especially in large venues.
We've always screened people from a security perspective. I suspect that we'll start seeing more around a health screening as well. So are people wearing masks? Are they going to be required to wear masks?
One thing she says the IOC is unlikely to do is reduce Olympic ticket sales. After all, the whole idea is to get as many people as possible celebrating their athletes, even if they have to do it wearing a face mask. Chris Brown, CBC News, Tokyo.
Canada's women's soccer team has high expectations for the Tokyo Olympics, led by their captain, Christine Sinclair. Now, she would probably prefer we talk about her team, but at the risk of making her uncomfortable, we want to focus for a moment on her and her record-setting achievement.
Christine Sinclair, the GOAT.
Christine, we are so very proud of you. Thank you for all the joy that you have brought us.
Congrats, Christine, the greatest scorer of all time.
Congratulations on breaking the all-time international goals record. What an accomplishment.
6 in the wall, it is over, brilliant!
When it comes to soccer, you don't often hear Canada and best in the world in the same sentence, except when it comes to Christine Sinclair. As you may have heard, the captain of Canada's national team has scored the most goals in international competition by any player from any country.
Christine Sinclair! She just broke the record!
And she's been doing it for the better part of 2 decades, pushing through the lows to unprecedented highs for a Canadian team on her way to goal 185. Off the field, the Burnaby native remains uncomfortable with all the attention, but deeply aware of her responsibility on and off the pitch. I spoke with Sinclair at, fittingly, BC's Sports Hall of Fame about that goal and the big challenge ahead. I'm going to ask you about 185.
Okay.
The question, I know you've answered a million times before, but what did it mean to you?
I mean, obviously it was very special and a moment that I'll never forget. It's obviously something that's been sort of weighing on me for probably the past year and a half, just as the goals have ticked away, and I knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when.
Christine Sinclair! She just broke the record!
But to be able to do it with my teammates in an Olympic qualifying tournament is pretty special. And then we went on to qualify for the Olympics, so it was a successful tournament.
Do you get a chance to take a breath at all and to step back and see how the world reacted to it? Because really, people from all walks of life said amazing things. Did you see any of that?
I mean, I'm not a big social media person. I gave myself a little bit of time after the game to sort of just see what was going on, and yeah, heard from some remarkable people like Billie Jean King, our Prime Minister, and then obviously like just past teammates, opponents, all with very nice things to say. It was a little overwhelming.
I was looking at Billie Jean King's Twitter account, and so she talks about Hank Aaron. She talks about Arthur Ashe. She talks at times about Elton John.
Yeah.
People all, and you, like to think.
I don't know what she was doing. So yeah.
She's thinking about you. So some of the star U.S. players were thinking about you too.
Yeah.
So and they reacted to Billie Jean's tweets. So that was pretty cool. Speaking of the Americans.
Yeah.
Do you think about the U.S. team often, and do you think about Canada and playing the U.S. perhaps in Tokyo?
Well, I mean they're the #1 team in the world, and they have been for a long time, and they're there for a reason. So yeah, if we want to reach our ultimate goal, which is to get on the top of the podium in Tokyo, we have to figure out a way to beat them. We have to be at our absolute best. They're the type of team that takes advantage of any mistake you make. But they're beatable. They're not untouchable. And I think that's something we've realized recently, that we're right there. They're not untouchable.
And for you, what is success in Tokyo? What does that look like?
Something better than a bronze.
Because you have that.
I've got a couple of those. I think success is just having our team peaking individually, collectively. And when we do that, we're capable of anything. If I'm not going to lie, I'd like a gold medal.
Fair enough. You're allowed to say that. At the event we're at today, there were a lot of young women, girls basically, on the team. And you were saying that maybe your biggest goal is to inspire them, not just in soccer, but beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I have a unique role. I have a unique opportunity with where soccer has taken me, and to help inspire, especially young girls, to dream those crazy, wild dreams. Just to dream them, put in the work, and absolutely anything is possible.
Last question, beyond the role model you are for them, beyond what soccer can do for them, what do we all have to do you think, in Canada to encourage more young women to play soccer at a higher level?
Opportunities. Yeah, the opportunities that are there for every young boy need to be the exact same for every young girl. Yeah, maybe when I'm done playing, that'll be my next job.
Real pleasure to meet you and talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next on The National, behind the scenes of Spittin' Chicklets.
We try to let people inside the locker room, and I think that they appreciate that.
How Paul Bissonnette went from hockey player to wildly successful podcaster who's changing the rules when it comes to talking about his game. That's next. It's not often a player finds greater fame and more influence in hockey after retiring. And it's likely no one has done that quite the way Paul Bissonnette has. He's colorful, controversial, and he embraces new media. The podcast he co-hosts, Spittin' Chicklets, can be coarse and candid, and there's no questioning its popularity. I went to Phoenix to talk to Bissonnette about his unusual path to stardom. The face-off in Phoenix is just a few minutes away, and Paul Bissonnette is getting his game face on.
All right, well, I guess follow me. I'm a small-town Canadian boy who grew up playing hockey. I was fortunate enough to transition my game from defense to forward and carve out a 5-year NHL career where I spent a lot of time mostly fighting and sitting on the bench, and most of the time actually in the press box. What's up? I get a little bit of social anxiety with a camera following me around. Oh, we're over here. I don't even know where I'm supposed to be sitting. This is our little team up here.
The press box is where he's headed tonight, the hometown radio broadcast for the Arizona Coyotes.
Rarely do I miss playing. I miss the atmosphere in the locker room, but now I got the podcast. That's the only thing I really miss. I never even got to play when I was playing. I was up here during games. Richie's first game back, his 4th of the season. Oh, here we go.
Brandon Bowling and Paul Bissonnette.
And when he did get on the ice, he was often doing this. If you search for videos of Bissonnette playing hockey, it's fights, not goals, that you'll find. It's how he got his nickname Biz Nasty. And while his career might have been unremarkable, his self-made multimedia success since then, including a Twitter following of more than 1 million people, isn't just unusual in hockey, it may be unique. Bissonnette's willing to use his charm, his humor, and, well, anything else to build his post-hockey career.
In that last offseason, I got left knee surgery, ACL and MCL. And before I even really healed up, I started that film project called Biz Does BC. Now, it wasn't anything earth-shattering. It was very silly, where I implemented other NHLers and had them acting in this silly script that they knew nothing about, and it kind of all came together.
Just one more thing, though, before I run. Can you please stop wearing that Speedo, man? It's disgusting. No one wants to see that.
But it taught me how to get comfortable in front of the camera. And even just throughout that process of filming that, my acting, I mean, I'm a Z-list actor here, you know, right, content, I got better. And there's not a lot of guys who transitioned out of hockey to kind of do their own thing and their own silly videos.
Not another one.
Shut up, Connor. And implement their own humor, where I was so nervous and anxious that I was like, I just need to move. I need to do all these different things, figure out what I'm good at, and it's led into what is happening right now. Coyotes have a lot of control of their own fate. They still got 3 more games against Vancouver.
Along with radio, he does some local television for the Coyotes, but he says this isn't the best fit for him.
I soon found out that it is so hard to be a polished broadcaster where I'm delivering everything, and because how I talk is I swear, and you listen to it on the podcast, right? So I'm able to now do what I love on the podcast because I don't need that extra second filter.
Hello, everybody. Let's say hi to the boys. Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette, the celebrity, the fucking John Lennon of the crew. What's going on?
Oh, get the f out of here.
The podcast is called Spittin' Chicklets, hockey slang for losing your teeth in a game. Twice a week, Bissonnette and his 2 co-hosts talk hockey and, well, pretty well anything else.
Mary Lemieux's cleaning up my dog.
Mario Lemieux is wiping off my dog.
We're not extremely polished. We're fairly opinionated. We're a little vulgar. We talk about some stuff that maybe some people wouldn't be down with. But all in all, we're just having a good time.
Not extremely polished, but extraordinarily popular. It's regularly one of the top 5 podcasts in Canada. And even in the huge U.S. market, it's in the top 150.
He just got his 18th the other night, leading the team. Still the fucking best bargain off of an entry-level contract in the entire league.
Chicklets has become famous in hockey circles for its interviews, from current stars to former minor leaguers. And you won't hear any cliches. No taking it one game at a time.
Any steroid use?
Oh, I have no problem talking about my steroid use.
All right, let's go.
As you can see in this video, players are relaxed and they're candid. Like Connor McDavid talking about when some people in Edmonton harassed him and his parents.
We see them in the restaurant, they're following us, and they're saying a bunch of stuff. I'm walking beside my dad, I look over, he's fuming. Goes to turn around, I'm like, no, like, let's get out of here. I'm like, he doesn't realize that they all have their phones out, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone's got their phone out these days, right?
We try to let people inside the locker room and maybe the mental state that some of these players are in when making decisions on and off the ice. We're very sympathetic to them. I think that they appreciate that. I think that's why they come on and feel comfortable, maybe elaborating on stories from behind the scenes or even situations that happen out on the ice. I would say our main objective is to grow the game and show people these guys' personalities. They're just like you and I, it's pretty cool.
Like you and I, except they're living the dream, so, unlike a lot of people.
Except they're making $10 million a year, getting to put a rubber puck in a net.
But the podcast popularity may come with a price. When retired player Brent Sopel said on Chicklets his coach Mark Crawford had kicked and choked him, it led to Crawford being suspended, something Sopel said he never intended. And just 4 days ago, Hall of Famer Jeremy Roenick was fired from NBC after he had joked on the podcast about sex with a coworker. When Bissonnette sits down in his Phoenix apartment to record the podcast, he may feel like he's back in the locker room, but realizes what he says here could make headlines.
I personally don't like the added pressure of maybe now some people hanging on our every word. I'm just some clown who has an opinion, and I think that the fighting aspect of it, the coaching issue at the start of the season, there are some intense subjects that we do have to chime in on, and I guess it's hard maybe seeing some of the replies of the people that disagree with you, but all in all, as I mentioned before, we kind of want to fly under the radar and just do our thing.
As for Bissonnette, doing his thing means constantly building his brand. He's secured deals with American Express and McDonald's. The professional lacrosse team in Vancouver, the Warriors, brought him in to boost their profile, making a Biz Nasty video.
How's it going? Matt, captain of the Warriors.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
And setting up a post-game meet and greet where fans gave him a rock star reception.
Put the number ones up. You guys are first. Put the number ones up.
But while Bissonnette looks so comfortable with crowds, he says he struggles with anxiety and the lingering effects of head trauma from all those fights. And so, before taping the podcast, a little cannabis self-medication to settle his nerves and get into the zone. The unfiltered, unpredictable Biz Nasty that's made the podcast so popular.
Listen, guys, I wear a certain style, and it's my style. If you ain't down with it, I don't really give a fuck, because mostly the guys chirping me on there are still the ones wearing those fucking Affliction jeans with the white lace in it.
And he braces himself for a little blowback on social media.
I have an aggressive sense of humor. I'm not going to apologize for that. And there's still a large number of people, specifically in Canada, where a lot of my audience is, that enjoy that. And they don't want to be shamed for liking that type of humor. I don't think we're bad people. We just, we flirt with that line a little bit.
Bissonnette can be a polarizing figure, and you may have seen that this weekend, an exchange of sharply worded tweets between him and a former minor league teammate, Dan Carcillo, who we've also featured here on The National. Carcillo has been outspoken about bullying and head trauma. The social media dispute shows another side of the two retired players still willing to take on a fight and reluctant to back down. Next on The National. The newest trend in casual dining that business owners are hoping will get shoppers into malls. But first, in case you missed it, a town in southern Alberta is trying to woo the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but not just for a visit. Okotoks wants Harry and Meghan to make it their home. Town council even sent an invitation to Buckingham Palace, hoping the Queen can help relay the message.
I think it's fantastic that they would consider moving to Canada. So I thought, why not Okotoks? Because there are a number of things to do in Okotoks.
We have a private lake, we have great walking trails, we have all the amenities as far as shopping is concerned, and we're also so close enough to Calgary if need be.
But don't expect any royal treatment from these residents.
Might be royal to this, they're going to pay for it.
And they'll get treated exactly the same as everyone else.
And look, we know there's been a lot of speculation around where the couple will settle down, but Okotoks is still making its pitch.
To put roots down in the only community in Canada that's got 2 Oks in its name, I vote for Okotoks.
Okay, there's no arguing with that. A scene like this might be coming to a mall near you. Definitely a cut above your average food court. In the age of e-commerce, Canada's retail developers are trying to find new ways to lure customers by appealing first to their eyes and then to their appetites. That's a European-style food hall, gourmet destinations filled with independent sellers. Several have already opened across the country. And as Diane Buckner explains, more are being planned.
On a wintry Friday night in Winnipeg,
Welcome.
the official opening of the new Hargrave Street Market. A craft brewery, tacos, pizza, ramen, all supplied by local vendors. It's a food hall.
It is quite distinct in our view from, we'll call it a food court, and it is on trend or on point in terms of what is happening in culinary food offerings across the country and in North America.
Having local is awesome because local businesses, everything gets put back into the community, which is nice.
Our vision for it is an open food market.
In Toronto, Jonathan Gitlin speaks for a consortium that's building a giant office and residential complex. It includes an 80,000 square foot food hall. The Well will feature dozens of vendors, many with open kitchens, showing off chefs at work.
There's a lot of theatrics around it. People actually enjoy the experience, not just of going to consume food, but to spectate it, to go and watch it being made.
He says millennials are driving the trend.
They will tell you that they're willing to spend far more of their disposable income on experiences than actual hard goods. And what are a lot of people spending their time on? The experience of food.
Still, plenty of Canadians enjoy eating at familiar, reasonably priced national chains. But with fancy new food halls in Montreal, Ottawa, and Calgary, and 3 planned for Vancouver, what's behind the phenomenon? One factor? Property developers, like the ones behind Italy, a new 50,000 square foot food destination in Toronto, say it's a strategy malls are using to lure back customers lost to online shopping.
A lot of the products available in shopping centers today are being commoditized by e-commerce. It's very difficult to commoditize hospitality and food retailing.
Tony Grossi says many malls are overweighted with fashion retailers. A shift is on towards customized cuisine. But can Canadians afford the kind of high-end offerings featured in most food halls?
So really, it's the choice of the consumer where they want to spend their money and how they want to go through the price spectrum.
I would expect that you will see these sorts of things evolve in gentrified areas and urban centers and in the downtown cores of many cities in Canada.
Either way, consumers are sure to have more options. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Toronto.
Next on The National, an invitation to the Scotties Tournament of Hearts after a heartwarming response to a tweet.
It is incredible. It's, to think, 24 hours we're just watching it on TV and had a thought, and then all of a sudden, Rylan, his mom, and I are all here.
The unifying power of sport and social media in our moment. The Scotties Tournament of Hearts kicked off this weekend in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. The popular event is the ticket to the upcoming World Championships, and for Canadian fans, it's a chance to cheer on their teams up close. But one young fan didn't think he'd get a chance to do that. Rylan has a rare form of epilepsy, and he loves cheering so much his stepdad didn't think he'd be welcome. What happened next is tonight's moment.
It started yesterday with a tweet. I had a tweet of Rylan cheering the curling, and I said something about bringing him out, but worried about the fact that he tends to cheer, and I know some of the seasoned fans, when they cheer at the wrong time, might get upset. But the response to that was absolutely amazing. Everybody said, no, get him out here, get him cheering. It was overwhelming, and Team Silvernagel, they responded and said, bring him. And next thing we knew, they had actually offered us 2 tickets to come down and see him.
What do you think of that? Pretty incredible, isn't it?
He's quiet now, but when he got here, he was watching the ice and just cheering and clapping. It is incredible. It's, you know, to think, what, 24 hours we're just watching it on TV and had a thought, and then all of a sudden, Rylan, his mom, and I are all here,
So lots of great things about that moment. A brief shout out, though, if I may, for my colleague and friend Devin Haru. We caught a glimpse of him there. His tweet helped set up that meeting. And if you're not able to get to the Tournament of Hearts or not a curling fan, follow Devin on Twitter because it is fantastic. It feels like you're right there watching everything, and you will become a fan, I think. All right, that is The National for Sunday, February the 16th. Good night.